The number you have dialed has been changed.
Alright, Fuzz Pie Guy here. I'm going to be taking a wireless mouse, a box, little project box, 2 switches, momentary switches, and a potentiometer. And we're going to tear this mouse apart and put it inside the box. We're going to drill some holes for the mouse part, the laser part on the bottom, and for the potentiometer left and right switches. Then we're just going to put the circuit board inside here and get rid of this, because we're going to be taking basically the little scroll here and turn it into a pot with a knob to scroll up and down for like SDR sharp, SDR plus plus, and so on. Now, another gentleman done this using a wired mouse, so I figured I'd do one with a wireless mouse and take some pictures, and I'll share a link in the description to my website for the video and some pictures and a parts list that I'm using. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this apart. Now, this is just a cheap wireless mouse that you can pick up off the internet. And we just got a couple screws here holding it on. And this little box here, I used these in the past for ESPs, so I figured why not just use them for this, because it's kind of perfect size to grab it with your hand, just like a mouse. Then we have the knobs that came with the pot. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and tear this apart, and I'll be right back. Alright, so we have it open here. So we're just going to pop these connectors off because we don't need it. Then we can just slide this out, because this is what we're going to be using. And we don't need none of this. And we don't need none of this, except for I'm going to be using the little clear plastic thing here. And I'm just going to take a coping saw and cut out this battery holder, because I'm going to be using it to help hold the battery in place. Then what I'll do is take the battery holder and hot glue it to the circuit board to hold it in place for our box. So and I went ahead and just soldered on these wires for my pot and my switches. Then I'm just going to hot glue this guy in place. Just put a little dab of hot glue over here and a little dab over here to hold that in place like such. Then what we can do is use some feet, little sticky pads for the bottom. Now, this is one I was working on earlier, and I had an issue with these solder pads, so I had to start over. And I was using solid wire, which was probably a bad idea, so I'm just using stranded wire now. But as you can see, that's how I did that one. I just hot glued it there and back in here. And everything tested good until I started moving it around before I hot glued my connections in, and these solder pads came off the circuit board, so this one's no good. But that's what it'll look like pretty much when we're done, so that kind of gives you an idea. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, and we can take this wheel off because we don't need that. And I went ahead on my other one and went ahead and unsoldered all these for the left, right, and the wheel. And we'll have to remove this little pot here so we can solder on the wires for our new one. So I'll be back. So we have the switches unsoldered, and this little pot is held in by these four little clamps. Like, so if you bend them out, you could just kind of bend that pot down a little bit to unsolder this housing, which is these big guys right there. Then we need to unsolder them three here in order to solder our new pot to it. So that's that. And here's what my battery holder looks like once I cut it out of the mouse. And like I said, we're just going to go ahead and put that in there like such. Then just going to straighten that up a little bit and put a little bit of hot glue there, and just a dab right back in here to hold that in place. So we'll be back after that. Okay, so now we have the battery holder hot glued on, and we have that little clear piece glued on the bottom, just like such. I just put a little glue here and here. Then for the battery holder, a little bit there and a little bit right there. So that's that. All we need to do yet is we can go ahead and solder the wires in. And for the switches, if you want them, like I said, the left ones are right here and the right ones are right here. Right, left. And we're not going to worry about that one. Now for the pot, we're going to wire it just like such. If it's setting like that, them three wires will go 1, 2, 3 right there. So the bottom one there will go to the bottom there, and so on, just like such. So once we get that done, we can put some holes in the box and get this wired up and complete. Now we're back. I went ahead and changed my wiring, the wires that I was planning on using, with something a little bit more sturdy, and it didn't have them connectors on because they were breaking off. So I just switched to a different type of wire and resoldered everything back to my switches in the pot. So this is what it looks like after I did that. We have our left and our right button and our pot soldered in place. Now I'm going to throw a little hot glue around all these because I don't want nothing to snap off. And I put a little Velcro type pad right there to keep it up off the bottom of the box. Now like I said, you can do this however you want with the box, but for me, I was able to line up the center hole. I measured it out, and with that setting in place, you can see we are okay with that. The lid, I just made a left, right, then the pot. Then I took a piece of tape, put it inside here, blue painter tape, took a marker and rubbed it on the top of this little hole here on the battery holder and pressed down, and I was able to mark the piece of tape to know where to drill a hole at, in order to put a little screw through to help hold this a little bit in place, because I can't glue it down or anything because when the battery needs replaced, we can easily pull it out. So I'll pause the video real quick and mount all these, and I'll be right back. Alright, so we have everything mounted. Just like such. And like I said, I'm just going to put some glue right there and mount that, put it right in the box here, and we should be ready to roll. Okay, so here it is together. That's what the finished prototype looks like, I'll say. There's the little USB that gets plugged into the computer. I verified it worked with my Mac. It scrolls web pages and so on, so it should work fine with SDR Sharp or SDR++ and so on. Left, right, and the pot to turn the dial on the RTL software. Now, one thing I would recommend changing if I was doing this again, I would definitely get a smaller switches that wasn't so deep going inside the box, but I had these laying around, figured I might as well use them. So I'll throw a link in the description to my website for pictures, the video, and the Amazon links that I got the box, pot, and the switches for, and the mouse. So hopefully this helps out. Stay tuned for another one.